I tell you one glaring thing. One glaring thing is the media. The media. You know, when I was the Minister of Information, I felt that. I felt that, but I couldn't change. I was not strong enough to change that. I mean, all the radio, all the newspapers, all the TV they carry only one voice. Of course, now you have the alternative media and so on. But I tell you, 70%, 80% of the people don't see it, don't read it. They're all, still being guided by the mainstream media. I always meet when I go back to the kampung. They tell me, Tan Sri, DAP ni jahat ya. Dia kalau menang dia nak hapuskan raja-raja. And then I said, siapa kata? Tan Sri, radio kata. Tan Sri, surat khabar kata. What radio says, what surat khabar says is the gospel truth. But 60% or 70% of our population are like that. Which means that, the other opinions do not go down. That's not a situation to have a free and fair election, and to have to really have the people's will reflected in an election. There must be a long-term solution. There must be a short-term solution also to face the next election. Maybe a few astro channels and so on to be completely free, and then some allocation by TV3, RTM and so on also for, just for 3 months or so before the election. But after the election, they must think something long-term. And people, credible people, ask for newspaper permit, radio license, TV license. You feel that they are credible people, they are serious people, they can afford it. You must give the license, the permits, because that's guaranteed, by the Constitution. Bureaucracy must be independent. Bureaucracy must be independent. During election time. Alright, after the election, a government's formed, then the bureaucracy is subject to the directions of the government elected by the people. But when you come nearer election, they have to be neutralized. This is what, of course, people are calling for a caretaker government and so on. I don't quite support it. Let Najib and his cabinet continue. But the government departments, the semi-government departments, all must be neutralized. Of course, during my time also, I have government departments supporting my party. But those are different times. Those are different times, Those are different times. There's no viable alternative, etc., etc. Now, times are different. The whole world is under revolt. The whole world is watching us. So we have to be seen to be fair. Alright? So, you cannot have Felda, Felkra, Risda, Kemas, Penerangan, Jasa, the information department, the police, the army, all are there in the kampungs, camping in the kampungs, eating, sleeping with them, giving them money, having feast all the time, spending rakyat's money, campaigning on one side. That is very fundamental flaw. Blatant distribution of cash. 2 or 3 days before election, you start distributing cash. Cash, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So ugly, very primitive. Very ugly and very primitive. I was also, I used to go all the time for leading my state Kedah there for helping in the by-elections and this and that. They give me stacks of notes to distribute. I say, I don't want. You're going to give others to do it. I don't want to do it. All my life, I never used money for politics, even for campaign for Supreme Council or Umno Youth, I never. So, it's so ugly, so primitive, And can you imagine Malaysia doing it blatantly, openly, especially in Sabah, Sarawak? But unfortunately, that's the tragedy. A lot of votes in the kampung in the long houses and whatnot. These are poor people who hardly watch TV, radio, newspaper, read newspaper and so on. You know, you come give them 200 ringgit, you stay in their kampung helping them with this and that and so on, repair their house and whatnot. They give their votes. You know, but which is very unfair. That's blatant buying of votes. That is something very big sin that should be completely banned.
Talking about the free and fair election, what are the important criteria for you? I mean, the original one that should be implemented for the next election.
I'm very happy that the Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Najib, has announced this. Obviously, I think he must be also having some advisors around him now, I suspect, who are telling him these are new politics, new era. You better follow the tide, otherwise will be swept away. You know, show sincerity and so on. And in no way can we oppress our people and steal an election, because the world will be watching. So I think he realizes this. I think there are advisors now advising him accordingly. And so he has made some good announcements, you know, which are very welcome. But the question is, how do you implement it? Do you follow through with it and implement it properly? So one is this decision to set up the Select Committee for Electoral Reforms, Parliamentary Select Committee for Electoral Reforms, and the government itself, on its own volition, you know, invited the representative of the opposition to sit in. Now that's very, very welcome. But what has they've achieved so far is only the small petty things. For example, this indelible ink, that I really disagree. Of course, there are some mistakes here and there, but there's not cheating. Actually, it's administrative mistakes and so on. And for us to introduce indelible ink and so on, okay, it's okay, the rakyat wants to give it to them. But ini menyusahkan rakyat. It's really causing problems, sedangkan the gain is very little. You know, so what the government rushed through the last parliament and approved a few changes. They are very minor changes.
You mean that it doesn't really address
doesn't address the main things. The government should not have the election before the Select Committee has finished its work. And I think if they are really given the time, they can easily finish the work around June or so. You know, leaving about 3 months or 4 months for it to implement their recommendations. After that, hold the election. Then the government will come out as truly gentleman politician. You know, the rakyat will appreciate it, believe me. You know, and now it looks like they are planning to hold the election around March, April. That, I think, it is not wise. The rakyat will really revolt. You know, that shows their sincerity in set up the Select Committee. Is just a main drama saja. It's a drama only, to playing politics again, not sincere. Alright, and then whatever the verdict, if they win again, I think the rakyat won't accept the verdict. And Najib has been on record, say saya tidak mau dituduh sebagai Perdana Menteri yang jadi Perdana Menteri dengan cara penipuan. You know, welcome, well done. You know, so why don't he just go through, follow a few extra months, follow through the changes, you know, and the rakyat will really appreciate him for that.